11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think they're going to win it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Using the ropes. This daddy empty smile from Maybe crashing out. Oh, counter server!
Thanks to those joining me live and those that have joined us on the archive. Tszyu, you've been joined by my co-host, Calix. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. That's Calix Boxing here on YouTube. And follow him on Twitter at Calix Boxing 2. Follow me on Twitter at Tszyu Boxing or X, whatever you want to call it. I'm also on Instagram, Tszyu_boxing. Follow me there. I'm trying to grow my Instagram. I haven't put that much work in it, but working on it. I'm also Tszyu Boxing on TikTok. All right, there you go. I'm trying to be as in many places as possible. All right, Mike's Biggs Boxing in the building. How's it going? Jesus Anthony Sanchez, Mars, Chicano Prophet, Demetrio says HCP. Let's fucking go all day, every day. All right,
every day, all day.
Yeah, Feliciano, how's it going? Alonso, so amazing. Team Batman Boxing, always supporting. Mars, of course, with all the flags, et cetera, et cetera. We appreciate it. Shout out to Remy just popping up. Thank you for being a member, brother. Let's go on and get this show on the road. A lot to talk about here. So much to talk about. Calix, we're going to start off with this. Just to, before we get to the fights of last weekend, the fights coming this weekend, and all that. Let's talk about this right here. Terrence Bud Crawford and I guess Tszyu was a topic of conversation. I guess everyone understands that Tszyu is going to be fighting Keith Thurman on the 30th on a PBC pay-per-view live from Las Vegas. This was tweeted out. I'm assuming tweeted out or said. I'm assuming tweeted out by Glacier. And Australian Boxing, a big outlet for Australian boxing, put it out there. I guess there must be a big outlet because they're called Australian Boxing or AUS Boxing. If Crawford wants Tszyu, WBO, per their rules, will name Crawford the 154-pound mandatory number one contender, basically forcing Tszyu into that fight. That would be a very big fight with worldwide interest. So, look, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about this. I went straight to the source. I went straight to the guy who handles the business of Tszyu, right? This is one quote, and I'll read the whole thing in a little bit, but there are plenty of big names that are interested in Tszyu, and Bud is the pound-for-pound champion. So we respect that and look forward to it. I'll read the rest, and I want your response, Calix, or your reaction. If the WBO mandated, then so be it. We will negotiate terms and comply, no issue at all. But we won't be waiting for anyone. We are already planning ahead for 2024. Take care of Thurman next month and move straight to the next, on to the next. Tim has great options, and as we have always said, we will keep fighting, stay busy, and we will be happy to take them all on in a timely manner that makes sense commercially and for Tim's health and welfare. There are plenty of big names that are interested in Tszyu, and Bud is a pound-for-pound champion, so we respect and look forward to it. But it's not always the name, it's the dates. No point in wanting to fight Tim, then dragging it out. We just want to move on. 2024, who wants it the most? Tim just wants to fight, and often. Simple. What do you think, Alex?
I love it. I love the verbiage there. Activity, dates, that matters. And it matters for Tszyu right now. And I like the fact that and when we talk to Glenn Jennings, when you've had him on, he makes two things clear: is what he just said, and we want our dates, we want to be active. That's number one. We're willing to fight anybody. And on top of that, they're always looking ahead. He always makes that clear, right? He always tells us what? I got a handful of guys to work off of. I have obviously a 1 through 5, a guy that I'd rather him fight. But if that's not working out, we're going to move on. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving. We're not going to wait for anybody. The problem in boxing today, and that's what, and particularly American boxing, that's why I believe you asked him the question, is anything going to change business wise now that you're moving into the American market? And he said, no. I mean, we're going to keep full steam ahead. And that's good to hear, because a lot of times you get gridlock. A lot of times you get carried on negotiations, and then the A side, B side. Tim Tszyu alluded to that after the Keith Thurman press conference. He said, I'm not worried about the A side, B side. I just want to fight. So it's good to hear that they want to fight. We're worried about the dates, and we're not going to sit around and wait for anybody. We're going to fight. So that's good to hear that they're locked. But, you know, I was texted Leonard Ellerby's comment on Twitter, and I know you saw that as well. Saying alluding to something where they're looking ahead. Look, if that's looking ahead, then a lot of fighters can be accused of looking ahead, right? There are many fights in boxing where you got this fight, but everybody knows there's a fight that's looming after it, right? And what Glenn Jennings has told us multiple times is, I look multiple fights ahead. And a lot of times the news cycle can be, if you're not following it close enough, you miss the root, you miss the beginning of the news cycle, and you catch the tail end of it. A lot of this is stemming from questions they're being asked by outlets, right? And the question will ask them about Bud Crawford, and say, yeah, we'll love the Bud Crawford fight. We can do it next. And then that'll be seen by people as looking ahead and looking past Keith Thurman. At the end of the day, you got to fight the fights, and they'll fight the fights March 30th. And if Tim Tszyu loses this fight, then that's on him. But, I think they're reading too much into the looking ahead thing.
Yeah, look, it's important to know. You're 100% right. It's not like they're out here looking to talk about Crawford. You know what I mean? It's not like they're out here just randomly doing it. He's on the Boxing Voice, Tim, that is, and he's asked, "What about a Canelo fight that potentially becomes available in September?" What is he supposed to say? Look, saying, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that. I'm focused on Keith Thurman," is not a realistic answer, and everybody will know. Come on. Just because you answer that question doesn't mean you're not training hard and preparing for your fight. Okay,
Mhm.
that's number one. So let's just make that clear for a second. And it's okay if you're asked questions. It's okay to answer them. That's number one. The statement from Glenn Jennings. I requested the statement. I went to Glenn Jennings, and he was kind enough to give me a statement. It's not like Glenn Jennings messaged, "Oh, I really got to answer to this thing that Glacier said. Can you put this out for?" It's not like that happened.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Why would he message? I contacted him. It's important to know that. Okay. So here's why I believe. I didn't like Glacier's tweet. It's not that he's wrong. He's correct. As a super champion with WBO, when you move up in weight class, right, you can request to become a mandatory. That's exactly what Usyk did, right? He was the undisputed champion. He was a super duper. Now that I think about it, being super champion WBO is it has more perks, Alex. The WBA, you have fake champions running around, like Tank Davis calling himself champion. So I don't know, it is what it is. But one of the perks is you get to, hey, I want to become a man. I want a shot. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not incorrect about that. Right. But I just think this notion that Tim Tszyu would have to be forced to fight Tim. I think any objective person at this point would agree that if the fight isn't happening, it's not because either guy is avoiding each other. It's more so Bud Crawford seeking the Canelo fight. He's
Mm-hmm.
seeking a bigger fight that's worth a lot more money. And I would say that's the number one reason why that fight, if they have had, and they've said, both sides have actually confirmed that they've been in very serious talks. It's not just one side saying it. I'm pretty sure part of it is, well, we'll talk to you if we don't get the Canelo fight. I think that's what it is. And here's what I don't think they want. They don't want to have an agreement and then, we'll do it 6 months from now and wait that whole time just so dude to pull out again. Oh, I have an injury. And, don't worry, I'll wait for you. Okay. Oh, man, I'm going to get this Canelo fight instead, right in the 11th hour. They don't want that to happen to them again, right? They didn't say that in the statement, but it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
My opinion.
Yes. So 2 points to add to that. Neither Bud Crawford or Tim Tszyu's the type of fighters that needs to be forced into a fight that's in demand by a sanctioning body. They don't need, if the smoke is there, they're not going to duck it. And if for Bud Crawford, like you said, you stated it, he'd be crazy to turn down a Canelo offer if it fell in his lap. So I think that's what we're dealing with, right? And and that leads to my second point is Tim Tszyu and his team, they were smart last year of not waiting around for Mel Crawford because Mel Charlo, because a lot of fighters would have done that. A lot of fighters, particularly in the American market, would have done that. They would have waited and waited and waited, and they would have been left without a fight. And they may have only had one fight in all of 2023. So he got several fights in, and he told us, he said, every week we check in. Still to this day, every week we check in with Mel Charlo to see what he's up to, if he's ready to fight. And they did it the right way. It's like, we're not going to lose our dates. We're not going to lose our dates for anybody. We're going to fight our fights. We're going to stay in people's faces. We're going to keep the demand growing in multiple markets. And while we're doing that, then we'll check up on guys in between time and say, you ready to fight? All right, let's get to negotiation table. And they're not going to waste too much time in negotiations. And that's a smart way to move, in my opinion.
No, for sure. Man. So the thing is this, shout out to Drunk Irishman, Devon Williams. I know I saw A-Rod out there too, and Shushan, aka 408. How you guys doing? Santiago, how you doing? HLD just popped up. How's it going, guys? Hit the like button, man. Let's get a 40 likes ASAP. I know you guys can do it. Every show, our goal is 100 likes. We've been close on some have hit, but that's our goal. It's going to help us grow immensely, guys. So get us to those 100 likes. Tell your wife, hey, I need you to like HCP, okay? Tell your kids, like you guys have. You rule over your kids. You can be like, you want to still use that phone? You're gonna like HCP.
Take a break from Bluey and Blippy and Ryan and hit the like button for HCP.
Yeah, that's right. You want your mom to make a dinner tonight? You better hit that like button. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But look, the thing is this. I don't want to tell parents what to do. It's probably the worst thing to do. I mean, we're gonna hear from HR.
No, we're gonna tell them. We're gonna tell them what to do.
But here's the thing. Jabdo like as Shushan says. First of all, why would Crawford do that? Why would Crawford go to the WBO and be like, oh, I want to be the manager? Now they'll do it, right? The WBO will be like, yeah, but they only get like 30%, bro, as a mentor. Yeah. Why would he do that? Like, I'm gonna keep like that. That's a fight they can negotiate, and that's a fight that Crawford's gonna get at least 50-50 or more. That's the reality of it.
Nobody's gonna have to petition anybody if they.
No one has to do anything.
If Bud wants to fight, Bud's gonna get the fight. He's gonna get the fight.
If Bud wants to fight, he'll get the fight. And look, one might say, well, of course he's gonna say that. He's the manager of Tim Tszyu, but nonetheless, we've asked him several times. This was back in, I think it was December, We did an interview with him, and they said, we're going to fight in March. At the time, it was early March, okay? That's when we went to late March. It was out of their control, but still, you could see how forceful they were. Like PBC almost had to come up with something for them, right? And that's why we ended up with that fight, for better, for worse. But they said then, we're looking for Spence. That's an option. Lubin's not out of the question. And he said, and it's his words, there's a short out there. I know I put it up. If Crawford wants a March date, it's his. That's literally what he said. If he wants it, it's his. Let's go. Like, they want to fight. So all this stuff you're hearing about, like, oh, because he's not willing to go to Australia, made up. Okay, no, nobody ever said that. Like, that's not in the cards. So I think that's a fight that will happen. In fact, the people that doubt it will happen has nothing to do with Alex, with whether Crawford or Tszyu wants to smoke. All of it is business. All of it is that something Tszyu wants to do at the moment or not? That's like, of course, like Tszyu really has nothing to lose in that fight. He'll be fighting the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, right? If he wins, look at what it does for his career. If he loses, well, you lost to the number. If you're going to lose, right? Wouldn't you rather lose to the number one guy?
Yeah.
Just put it out there. Now, the question for Crawford is, do I want to go in there with this young lion? You know, I'm getting up there in age a little bit here. I'm still the number one pound for pound guy, or number two, however you have him, right? But, you know, he's the one that has to analyze that situation. He don't have to mandate anything. That's the reality. Bruce Goss.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Bruce Goss, thanks for the support, brother. 44 months as a member. Go ahead and finish your thought, Alex.
No, if he points to Tszyu, fight happens. Those are real ones right there. Old lion versus young lion. That's why those are the fights that I want to see, right? I know you can argue that Canelo versus Bud is the biggest fight in boxing, and you'd probably be right. And don't get me wrong, I like that fight. Like it a lot. But what I like more, what I actually love, would be Canelo versus Benavidez 168, old lion versus young lion, and then Bud versus Tszyu, old lion versus young lion at 154. I love those type of fights. I love guys when guys are in their late stage of their career and you see they're willing to take on the young lions. They're willing to do those things, and we get those fights where they're a little bit more vulnerable, and you got these young lions chomping at the bit. Those are the fights that I love. And what we're missing in modern day boxing is rivalries, natural rivalries, and trilogies. And those are two matchups that could possibly be trilogies. That could lead to possible trilogies. I don't think that Canelo versus Bud would be a trilogy type rivalry. I think it's more novelty-ish to me.
100%. Alex, have you noticed, like, there's like a little bit, it's like every fight has these guys, but there's like a little bit of a movement, the whole, like, oh, Keith Thurman's going to shock the world movement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't see it, guys. Like, I don't know what
I'm seeing people say it. I just don't see it. I don't see
it. Sorry.
The inactive fighters have not been doing well. They have not been doing well.
They have not been doing well. He's moving up for the first time after an inactivity, fighting a guy who could punch, a guy who's active, who's sharp. I'm just saying, man. And guess what? A lot of the dudes saying this have been saying it forever. Like you said it when he fought Harrison. Right? Remember the whole, like, oh, he's going to beat him. He's going to expose him. And it's not an upset. Remember when Spence said that?
Yeah.
It's not an upset if he beats him. He'll beat him easy. Well, it didn't look so easy, you know? So I'm just saying, all right? But we're going to keep it moving, all right? And that is that. Look, Shocky Foster, Nova, I have a couple of things. Me, personally, I enjoyed the fight. A little. It started a little bit slow, but I could let go of one or two slow rounds while they, feel it out and stuff. But it picked up a little bit. It got a little sloppy at the end, I think, because Nova got tired. Nova being tired was smothering a lot of work. It looked sloppy at times. And I think another factor that kind of hurt the fight a little bit, it's just an unfortunate circumstance. And given the circumstance, I'm actually kind of impressed how good he performed. Shocky Foster hurt his arm, right? Like the bicep area. He hit the elbow of Nova. So he couldn't really pop that right hand like I expected him to, but he still used it, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he still did his thing. He still won the fight convincingly in my card. What are your thoughts on the fight, Alex?
Same. So we coming into the fight, we talked about how as the fight went on, the cream will rise to the top, right? There would be separation. So that's what we saw. It was Nova, to his credit, he did gas, but he was still trying. He was still throwing punches. He was still active, but it got sloppier and sloppier and sloppier. And the mauling of Shock Foster, he was trying to stay on top of him. that got sloppier and sloppier and sloppier. But the trend continued for Shock Foster in that he's in these fights. He's in tough fights with tough fighters. Not necessarily the greatest fighters in the world, but tough fighters who bring him to a point in a fight where, all right, I could lose this fight. We saw it with Ray Vargas. Although he was in more control in that fight, there were some moments toward the middle of the fight, and he got stronger as the fight went on. We saw the same thing very much against Rocky Hernandez, right? We down on the scorecards, 12th round, he does what he does. Same thing here. Abraham Nova was in the fight. Now, second half of the fight, I had pretty much a clean sweep for Shock Foster. To me, it was a cleaner fight to score because Shock Foster was landing the clean and effective punches, whereas Nova was sloppy. But my one criticism of Shock Foster in the fight would be that he did leave some rounds up for interpretation to the judges, and by not being as active when he could have been, and fighting off his front foot. But a lot of that had to do probably with the arm and probably with Nova being a big guy, athletic guy who was all over him, and just him being a little tired. But I enjoyed the fight. It was an okay fight, but Nova fought a little too negative for me. But at the same time, I still think Nova has some attributes, and I wouldn't mind seeing him again, Abraham Nova. I think he has some things to offer for some guys coming up at 130. I'd like to see him be a barometer type of fighter at 130. And a good win for Shock Foster. And Shock Foster is a guy who he's the face of belts matter. Because we talk about, a lot of people say, oh, the belts. It matters to a lot of fighters. And Shock Foster's one of those fighters where it matters to him. Because without the belt, his market value declines significantly. He needs that belt. So when you hear him say, I don't know if I can make 130, it's a tough weight cut, I need a nutritionist. You better make 130. You better keep that belt, because going up to 135, it's tougher fights, and you don't have the belt. The longer he can hold on to that belt, D-style, fighters like that are fun to watch. Limited, lower ceiling, but they become a champion, and they defend it and defend it and defend it in tough fights. They pull off upsets. A guy who obviously we hate outside of the ring because of some just terrible, awful things he's done was Carlos Baldomir. But he was one of those guys that he picks off a belt, upset, and he continues it on, right? So those fighters are fun to watch if they can get their hands on a belt and defend it, and maybe even unify against Lamont Roach. But I'm going to tell you this. I think a fight that could develop next for Shock Foster, and don't sleep on this, is if he goes across the pond and fights Lee Wood. I think that would probably bring him the most monetary value, the most money, and it's a winnable fight. And it's also another opportunity for Lee Wood to win a belt in a different weight class. So I'm just saying that's a possible fight. I'd actually be more intrigued by that than a unification against Lamont Roach.
Shout out to the Boxing Kangaroo, a.k.a. Carl, in the building. How you doing, brother? Iceman, and I'm missing somebody. The Nerd, how's it going? Look, I concur with everything you said. And as I stated, there was some unforeseen circumstances that occurred in the fight, and I think showed me a lot about Foster here. Still able to win this fight. It's a very athletic Nova, but a Nova that we knew would fade. I was confident the late knockout was going to land, and I don't want to make excuses, but I think the arm getting injured has a big reason it didn't happen. He
landed that knockdown too, and that was a clutch knockdown.
Yeah, and think about it, and it's good that his coach had the mindset, by the way, to tell him, go out there, take him out, win that round, because that's why you won the fight. If he packs it in, you're ahead. Don't worry about it. Shout out to Jesus Ramos, but that's what his coach told him, to take it easy. The last 3-4 rounds against Lubin, and we saw what happened, right? So the mindset of that team is there. He's got the mindset. His coach got the mindset. His whole team, his manager,
it's a high IQ. That's a high IQ team. Him and his coach. It's just a high IQ team.
And they're like, we're not going to leave any stone unturned mentality. Like that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Like they're like, okay, it's not open scoring, but how do we know that they're not going to give it a Nova? So go out there and take this dude out, because when you try to do that, you fight trying to knock a guy out, right? But you're doing it smart like he does. You're going to win that round more likely, right? So you want to win that round. So here's the thing. With all that said, I don't know what it is, man. And this. I know holding's always been around. I know this, okay? But I don't know what it is, man. It's really starting to irritate me. I'm watching a fight, and a guy will hold 10, 11 times in a round, and there's never like a warning. Never like, hey, man, stop holding already. Ever. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, it's not fun to watch. The constant resetting is frustrating, and it looks sloppy. It's I don't understand. And there's people like, no, that's part of boxing. Look, bro, it doesn't have to be. Like, it never, like, I know I'm not blind, bro. When I watch fights from the 80s, the 70s, the 90s, there's more ebbs and flows in those fights.
Yeah.
I'm talking overall, right? It's overall. One of the reasons the Rocky Hernandez O'Shaquie Foster fight was so good, there was no holding like that, not to that degree, right? So I get the argument why he's holding on, because he wants to survive. Why are we helping the fighters survive? Like what are we doing? Like, no, we should make the sport more difficult. That's what we should be doing. Yep. Like, that's the whole point. That's what I believe we should have an 18 by 18 ring. That may or may not be popular, but I want to say that that should be part of the HCP, mission statement, 18 by 18. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm down.
Okay, it's official. That's part of our mission statement. I know this. I used to be against this, but I'm starting to think now. And I want your opinion on this, Cal. Should we just start? Like, hey, you have so many times you could initiate a hold. After that, you're going to get warned. Mm-hmm. Should we just put a number on it at this point?
I don't know if we should put a number on it. By the way, do you hear my mic good?
Perfect.
All right, good. I don't know if we should put a number on an arbitrary number, but I think it has to be common sense. And we've seen a lot of incompetence, downright corruption with judging, but I think a lot of incompetence with the referee in the ring. They need to be quicker to really clamp down on the holding. It was really frustrating. A lot of their careers, great fighters, legendary fighters, really. Vladimir Klitschko, Andre Ward, Bernard Hopkins, but it got frustrating, right? Because a lot of times it got downright negative when they were fighting athletic fighters in particular. And why Jermaine Taylor did a great job of just activity, and beating Bernard Hopkins just by pressing him. But the judge, the referee needs to get to this quicker and break up the action and say, look, you're initiating too much holding. It's too much headbutting. Too much elbowing. Floyd Mayweather, another one, who would downright turn his back on fighters, use his elbows and clinch on the inside. We need to see fighters, especially the ones who are great enough to do it, keep their hands free on the inside, keep their hands free in the pocket. Mayweather, the ones I just mentioned, were all capable of it. They're all great all-time fighters, and still, even them on the inside, chopped up fights. So we need to see less negativity, less chopping up of fights. And yeah, I agree with you. More action and more keeping hands free. And it's good. I already know what's going to happen here, D-Styles. You're going to have people come at you and say you're anti-fighter by saying things like, we need to make it more difficult for fighters. But more difficulty leads to more action, number one, but it also gets us closer to the truth of who is the better fighter. Yeah, it gets us closer to the truth. So everybody should be for the truth.
I just think that watching constant resets, right? Like, it's starting to get good, and then a fighter, like, I understand, because you always have these boxing snobs, as I'm calling them now, right? that try to explain to us what we already know. Like, you know what I mean? Well, he's doing that because he's trying to stop the offense of the other fighter, and it's gonna, it's gonna nullify his offense, and then the ref's gonna break it up, and he
We
has to
already
start all
know.
over. Like, we
know.
know what they're doing, bro. It's not a secret. Like, I don't want that. I don't want it to be that easy. I want you to use your boxing skill, right? Bob and weave or punch him back, right? Counter him, circle out of the way or something, right? Not excessively, right? But I don't. We know why they're doing it at the end of the day. And then we keep hearing, oh, guys got to learn how to cut off the ring, cut off the ring, cut off the ring. I see guys cut off the ring all the time, Calix, but it's difficult to do it with someone who doesn't want to fight, number one. But even if you want to word it that way, if you want to word it a guy with really good footwork, but when they finally do cut off the ring on them, right, and they're at punching range, what do? They hold right away. And then the ref breaks it up, and then he has to start all over. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand why people are advocating for this.
You know what the good news was Thursday night and Friday night. I was very, it was such a pleasant 2 nights of boxing. I was very pleased with the action that I got, starting with Jojo Diaz, and his fight and him being upset. That was a hell of a fight with Jesus Perez, upset in an action fight. Nunes stopping Rakhimov in a tough back and forth fight, and then Lara versus Lugo. All those fights. Nanshinga coming back and knocking out Curiel. I didn't think that was going to happen at all. I thought Curiel was going to win that fight by knockout. So we got action. We got a guy like Tszyu Carrington say, I'm not going to just coast to a decision. I'm going to get a knockout. I was very pleased with the action we got Thursday and Friday night. And that's what I'm saying is, when you give the fans entertainment value and you understand that part of it, and you're an active fighter, it shouldn't take the referee to come in and stop guys from starting to chop up fights. It shouldn't be a surprise why we like action fighters.
Yeah, I agree 100%. HLD, D-Style, how much you charged me to do your show? I'm no regular Hulk Hogan, The Rock, or Ric Flair. I'm bigger, the real. No, I'm not broke or borracho. What's going on, brother? I'm not sure you mean it. You want to call in? We'll see what we could do. We'll see what we can do. Shout out to HLD, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a lot of topics to do, and we're not going to have time for a call today, but maybe we could fit it in sometime in the future. You know what I mean? Look, we'll leave it at that when it comes to that. Tszyu did his thing, by the way. Great stoppage. And overall,
back in June as well.
Great knockout. And speaking of knockouts, Junto Nakatani against Santiago. A great fight. Santiago's coming off that win over Donaire.
Yep.
I'll give him credit for the win, but if we're honest, I mean, Donaire hasn't been the same, right? But it's still a decent win. It's a decent win. But now he's fighting a guy in his prime. Like, he's fighting like a devastating dude here, who might be the first man to knock out both Malonis. We'll see, but he's got to get through. He's got to get through Santiago first. Santiago's a tough dude.
Yes.
His losses have been really disputable. Okay, so this is someone who should be in a very long winning streak right now. And Junto, in fairness, I'm expecting him to carry the power, but we don't know for sure until he's actually in there. You know what I mean? So he's going to step in there against a guy who could take a punch, right? Doesn't mean he wants to get hit often with it, but still. But if he dents Santiago's chin and drops this dude and puts him out, that is going to be a statement of bantamweight. And I'll take it a step further, Calix. All this talk about Inoue moving up and I wouldn't mind if you just wait right there. Just stay right where you are, because the cavalry's coming. Junto Nakatani might just pay you a visit to his weight class once he's done dispatching these dudes at 118. And that's a big all Japan. Who's a real emperor of Japan clash? But I will say, Alex, I mean, obviously he didn't want none of that Gaio smoke. You know what I mean? But that's another story for another day.
Oh, please, please,
I mean, I'm just
please.
saying he didn't fight Gaio. He didn't fight Ioka. Just moving on along. He's just moving on up. Now, doesn't mean he's never going to fight at 115 again. He might, but it looks like he's moving on, right?
Could be. So let's start with Santiago. Santiago's a tough fighter. This is a tough dude. Donaire fought well against Donaire. So is it Donaire's washed, or which it could be that, or did Santiago make him look like that? I think a mixture of both. Beat Nieves as well, and you talked about disputed losses. Lost a close fight to Russell as well. So this guy can fight. He's a fighter. He's tough. Generally speaking, he's a guy you're not going to knock out. But we're talking about Junto Nakatani here. And I'm going to tell you something right now. You've been talking about Ioka being the emperor. It still seems like you're throwing a little shade at Junto right now. If Junto Nakatani puts on a statement here against Santiago, I'm going to go this far right here. I've been saying he's been the 12 to 15 range, like been moving 12 to 18 range in a pound for pound, like right on the outside of the top 10 pound for pound. He's right out there. He's been moving it up like Jai Opataya, Tim Tszyu. He's been making those type of statements, right? I would say even more so. But now moving up to 118, now fighting a real guy with a real belt. I'm going to tell you this right now. If he wins a wide decision or if he knocks him out, there's a vacant spot at number 10 on my list with Tiafimo not looking so good. Shakur not looking so good in his last fight. I got a spot warmed up for him at number 10. If he puts on a great performance this weekend, he's sliding right into that number 10 spot.
Who are you removing?
And I'm going to have 3 Japanese fighters in my top 10 pound for pound. Inoue, Ioka, and Junto Nakatani if he does that. Junto is the real deal. It's get down or lay down season. Either you get down with Junto Nakatani and the Junto Nakatani team, or you lay down. We're going to force you to lay down. We're going to put you down. We're going to put you to sleep. All right?
So
Junto Nakatani is not messing around.
For those that don't know, Calix is the residential honorary Japanese guy of HCP.
Yeah,
just like I'm the honorary Australian. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, mate? But like, check it out. I actually like the proposition of, if Inoue could chill for a while, defend his undisputed crown at 122. He's already moved up. How many weight classes? I mean, is this guy going to keep moving up? He could chill there for a while. He's a small 122 anyway. Could chill for a while. Just take a chill pill, And if Junto Nakatani conquers 118, then Junto Nakatani versus Inoue is a huge fight. That's yet to be seen in that. He's got to get through Santiago, obviously. I assume they'll probably do a match with Jason Maloney, right? I think he wins those fights. And after that, hey, what do you think?
Junto puts everybody at 118. If he makes a run through 118 like that, where he's just putting guys on notice, then we got ourselves another Japanese raging inferno with him. And Taraji's right on the outside to answer Drunk Irishman. He's right on the outside for me. And I did a show on that about a month ago. If you want to go back and look at it, he's just Taraji's just missing something to where he's right. He's always been right on the outside. He's got the resume, but right on the outside. But Junto's got something that to me is special. And people have talked about how he spars in LA. He gets American sparring, and that's a big difference. That's a big difference that people are not highlighting is he's getting sparring with Mexican fighters. He's getting sparring with American fighters. He's got good quality sparring.
So he's really...
And he fights like an American fighter. Like,
okay,
he's gonna go after you. He's gonna put you to sleep. And I'm just, this guy's the real deal. He's the real deal.
All right. Well, could you imagine, Calix, if 115 Ioka, 118 Nakatani, 122 Inoue, and there's still Japanese fighters at 112, 108.
Yep.
They could totally do a whole run like top dog in each division. Like they have a really good shot at doing it. So keep a
They got a
lookout for
lot
them.
of talent. They got a lot of talent 118 and down. They do.
A lot of talent. And the king of 122 is Japanese.
They got
so,
some guys coming up too on the circuit. They got some guys coming up. So we talked
Yeah.
about the Australian circuit being hot. In that pipeline, Japan's got a pipeline too.
You know
It's
what?
hot.
And it's that discipline, bro. It's that Japanese discipline. You see it with the baseball players. They're dominating baseball. It's World Baseball Classic. They dominate that all the time.
Yep.
You never hear a manager in the MLB complain about a Japanese player not paying attention. Like it's never like a thing. Like, you never hear like, yeah, he's not showing up for practice. It just doesn't happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, don't show up for practice. Like that doesn't happen. We don't even know what would happen. It doesn't happen. Okay. Charlie says this holds a World War II grudge against the Japanese. Gotta let it go. We drop Fat Boy and Little Boy on them, man. Shout out to Japan. I love Japan. I love Japanese fighters.
Junto's special though, and we'll see though, because if Santiago gives him a tough fight, and then these are the type of fights where you start to see it, and Santiago's the type of fighter that's going to offer resistance.
Yeah, he's going to offer resistance, and he's not hard to find, and for that reason, Calix, it's yet to be determined how much the power carries up and how good Santiago's chin is going to be. Yep. But I do think he's going to get knocked out. At least stopped. I think it happens under 9. What do you think?
If he does that, he's number 10 on my list. I'm putting him on there.
Jeez.
He does that.
Man, he said it. Look, let me tell you something. If he does that, you don't put him in top 10, you're gonna have some summarizer at your front door, bro. Okay, like what happened? Like, what's up? You say we're gonna put him in the middle. You know what I mean? But
that's right.
But hey, what are you gonna do? I like how you don't like the idea of Nakatani moving up the fight in a way.
I think it's early. I think it's early for that. I wouldn't be against it, but I think I want to see him try to clear out 118 or move back down to 115. Right. The thing about 115 is you could still do like Junto versus Bam is a fight. Like, why not? If you can make 115, why not do Junto versus Bam at 115? I mean, there are fights at 115 and 118 for him if he can still make 115. So either clear out 118, makeable fights there, or move down to 115 for a bigger fight with Bam. You can do that too.
Well, look, trying to find the last time. We're gonna talk about Berlanga here.
Oh, Lord.
This guy, it's the last time, Calix, he knocked somebody out was the 12th of December, 2020. That's how long it's been since Berlanga's knocked the dude out, right? Mm-hmm. Ever since then, he's got decision. By the way, he was on a first-round knockout streak. And he went from that to all decisions. Couldn't knock out Steve Rose. Couldn't knock out Alexis Angulo, Quigley. Now he's going to fight McCrory. I think Matchman's trying to match him up to get a knockout here, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the curse continues. I think it was decision. By the way, the most popular Puerto Rican fighter today, Edgar Berlanga. Whether people like it or not, he's the most popular one. So he packs houses more than any other Puerto Rican fighter right now. Unless you want to consider, is Jake Paul Puerto Rican? He lives in Puerto Rico?
I guess so.
Puerto Ricans don't even want to claim that dude. They're like, who? Like Jake Paul? Hell no. So
McCrory, I'm gonna say this. I think McCrory's got a shot. I do.
Oh boy. So you're saying that's more likely than Berlanga getting a knockout?
I don't know. Berlanga, So Top Rank does a great job, a better job than anybody at, they bring their guys along, give them their fights right early on, and then they start to provide resistance of those fighters. And here's another thing that they do that people may not see is they match them up with different styles, right? Even if these fighters aren't great fighters, even if they're going to get mowed down, they show them different styles. And they're doing that, one, to develop the fighter, but two, start to see what these fighters' weaknesses are, their patterns. There's a science to it. And Top Rank has done it better than anybody, by far, I would argue, developing their prospects because they have the best farm system. They just have it down to a science, and they still do it the best to this day. Once they start to see that a fighter is not who they thought, they still try to power through that for a couple of fights. And that's what they tried to do with Berlanga. And they saw this isn't that guy. Like, he's biting guys on the neck. He hasn't stopped anybody in a while.
I forgot about that, bro.
It was clear after that this guy is not the, he's one of the terror squad members. He's a Fat Joe guy, right? Puerto Rican guy from New York, but he's not a guy that you fear. He's not a terror guy. Like, he's not a guy that you fear. He's not the guy that they were building him up to be. And also on top of that, he's a limited guy. So as he steps up to 12-round fights, which this will be a second 12-round fight, I'm telling you, like, I would not be surprised if he does not look good on Saturday and he's in a tougher fight than people expect. I may even put like $5-10 down on McCrory. I think he's a heavy dog. I forgot what it was. I think I saw like 11-1, something like that. So he's just not that dude, man. Berlanga's not that dude. And I thought that Eddie and Oscar were going to get a Munguia versus Berlanga fight done. And that would have been a nice cash out fight for Eddie. But now I think Munguia's up here and Berlanga's never going to be where Munguia is, in my opinion.
I'll tell you right now, I don't think Munguia. I'm sorry, I don't think Berlanga would beat John Ryder. I don't.
I don't think so either.
I just don't. It's like
I wouldn't even think
dude.
twice. I wouldn't even think twice about picking Ryder in that fight.
100%. Rodolfo Llamas. Berlanga is the Ryan Garcia of 168 pounds. Hey, thanks for the support, brother. Man, I mean, they both had to remember, like, when Berlanga was knocking dudes out first round, and then
It's
like
Terror Squad.
he was in the studio. I don't know why he was in the studio, but was he making music? I don't know. But like, remember, he was like dancing with Snoop Dogg, like they were like whatever the hell. I don't even know what I'm doing right now, but I'm doing it. You know what I mean? But the thing is, remember they were doing that shit. I'm like, what? Why him and Snoop Dogg like crip walking and like, and then he's not even from the West Coast. Like I don't know what's going on with Berlanga, but either way, I like it because at least there's a high profile.
You think he could lose? You think he could lose Saturday? Because I think he could lose.
Look,
I think he could lose.
I'll say this: I never been bored by a Berlanga fight. I'll say that. I never.
That's
like,
true.
He's fun to watch. I'll give him that all day. And you know me. And Calix, even we're all for action fighters. So,
but he's fun at this level, is what I'm saying. So, I don't know if people caught this, but over this past week, something surprising happened, and Munguia jumped up to #1 contender in the WBC, which is interesting. David Benavidez is the interim champ, and Munguia jumped in Billy to #1. So just keep that in mind, #1, because that's an interesting thing that happened that's flying under the radar. But the fact that Munguia is there shows us that Munguia is starting to realize some potential that people thought he had. And he possibly has something outside or above being just an action fighter. There could be something else there. Something credible with this guy. With Berlanga, I don't see that. Berlanga can turn himself, and he can make money and extend his career by being an action fighter if you match him correctly, right? But being a great elite top 10 fighter, I don't think it's there.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I don't even think he's. I gotta be honest. I don't even think he's one of the top 10
Look, he's
super
not that
middleweights in the world.
dude. Look, he's not that dude, and for whatever reason, they're trying to make him the dude. I don't know, man. Just put the guy in.
It's
Look,
because they're trying to make him the dude because of the demographic.
I get that, but he's not going to be that dude.
I know, but they're thirsty. The market is thirsty for a Puerto Rican fighter from New York based, because there's just a huge market for it. There's a huge market for just good New York fighters right now, and
100%.
it's been lacking. So that's why he's given the forgiveness is because
I get what you're saying, but let me say this: you still got to be realistic, and I think Top Rank got real, and that's why they let him go. I think they were like, "This ain't gonna. It ain't what we think it is." Xander's our guy. It's pretty obvious that's who they're aiming for. I think they made a mistake. I think they should have put Berlanga in a fight that maybe he wasn't going to win, but that and have like Xander on the pre-main, or something like that, and or whatever, right? But they didn't. It is what it is. But Eddie's going to maximize everything he can out of him. And if Eddie, in my opinion, is smart, he's going to. The bill's not going to be, this is a top 10 guy, a guy who could beat Canelo. It's not going to be any of that. All it's going to be is when you buy a ticket to watch Edgar Berlanga fight, you get your money's worth. You're going to see knockdowns. It's going to be back and forth. He's going to get hurt. He's going to hurt the other guy. It's going to be not to your, like you said, you got to match him up correctly for that. Mm-hmm. Put him there with Munguia. That's exciting while it lasts, but how long does it last? I mean, I think it destroys him. It is what it is. The idea of Canelo fighting Berlanga, the people suggesting that were just stupid, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sorry.
That was never going to happen.
If anybody said, he's going to fight Berlanga next, I mean, I don't know. I got to question how much you really know. Like, that was not going to happen. All right. No. I saw that a mile away. Derevyanchenko, does he take him out? I think he does.
Derevyanchenko beats him. He beats him. I was talking to somebody about that last week, I think, Derevyanchenko, because if you look at his resume, it's just that dude is an underrated fighter. He's an undervalued fighter because he was in so many fights. You talked about fights that could have went his way. He was in like a handful of fights with big name fighters that could have went his way. And they were all hell of a fight. Like Triple G could have went either way, right? And Maul, and then what was the one recently? Oh, Munguia last year. He's just in those fights that could go either way. Derevyanchenko is a tough dude.
He's a tough dude. That is for sure.
He would beat Berlanga. He'd send Berlanga to hell.
Man, Berlanga. Poor Berlanga, bro. Nobody believes in him, bro. Remember the hype? Like, I know Irishman said it earlier. Like, there was a time where people were like talking, like. But I'm not talking like last year. I'm talking like a couple of years ago.
That time 16-0,
16-0, 60 knockouts, all by first round knockout. Oh, Canelo better watch out. This guy's coming for him. That's the future Puerto Rican Mexican fight we're looking for. Yeah, no.
New York dudes need to get it together, man. Like they need to get it together. These New York fighters, like Tszyu, maybe he'll be the guy in a year or two, 3 years.
New York, bro.
New York needs to get it together. They need to get it together. I say this out of love because when boxing is thriving, New York is thriving.
Let me ask you this.
That market needs to be thriving, and their fighters are letting us that New York dudes as a whole,
let's
be honest.
Thing, bro.
New York dudes as a whole are kind of out of style. Let's be honest.
Calix, come on, let's be real. Look, what are the Giants doing? What are they doing?
Nothing.
The Jets? What are the Jets doing? Like, I mean, look, this is how cursed New York is. Like one snap and Aaron Rodgers snaps his fucking ankle, bro. Like, it is what it is. Right? And then you got
first snap.
But what's going on with the Knicks? Are the Knicks in the mix right now?
I think they're okay. They're not going to win anything, but I think they're okay.
Is Berlanga going to win anything?
No, he's not.
Berlanga's okay. He's not going to win anything. Like, it's the same thing.
Dudes are saying he should retire in the chat.
No, I don't know about that. No, look, he has a place. Like, guys like this have a place. This is why I miss Friday Night Fights. This is why I miss. Like, we're gonna miss Showbox and Boxing After Dark, and this is
the issue with Berlanga is I don't think he's gonna accept that role. I think Berlanga feels like he's one of the top fighters in the world. He's not gonna accept that role. He's just not, and that's why it's not.
You know what? Show me that.
It's not gonna get set. Yeah, he's got to show it. He's got to show it. He's
All
got to show
right.
it. And that
Simple as
doesn't
that.
start this weekend, though. It doesn't, because McCrory, even if he knocks him out, people are going to be saying, all right, but that's McCrory. It's got to be consistent, just multiple knockouts in a row,
Yeah,
or
yeah, I
beat a
got you.
top fighter. That's what it's got to be.
Look, I want to talk really quick about Mauricio Lara. I forgot to mention him.
Yeah. Man, it's weird, huh?
So 25 years of age. That's it. 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing significant decline. Significant. It's
And it
really
came out
bad.
of nowhere, right?
Yeah, it was like a cliff. Now I've heard some people say, no, he was never that good. He was always like this. He just got lucky with that punch against
No.
Wood. He was just a bad stylistic matchup for Warrington.
No, he could fight.
No, bro.
He could fight.
Like there's something not there. He's not reacting fast enough, and I'm not gonna blame it on the slippery mat or like you know what I mean. His opponent was fighting that same slippery mat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look, I know what I heard, bro. He was in that corner saying, "That's it, that's it, that's it. No, that's it," like that. He just kept saying that. He was saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," like he wanted them to stop the fight. His corner talked them into like, "No, bro, go back out there and fight." Right? That's between them.
Is
I
that what
would
you
never.
heard?
Yes.
Hmm.
Now, either he was telling his trainer to shut up, that could mean yeah, like or something. But I don't know, man. I saw his demeanor, just personally. I just think the one thing a fighter really, especially if you're a bruiser like him, you need punch resistance, and he don't got it like that no more. Like not like he just don't, bro. So I don't
I
know. Any
love the
quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I love that fight. I thought Lugo won the fight. I thought I was disappointed to see him not get the decision, because I felt he clearly deserved it. But the takeaway from that fight for me was, I'm going to continue to be a Lara fan because he provides that entertainment, right? He provides the action. And actually, as he gets more limited and his reflexes, they've seemed to diminish. They've seemed to diminish significantly the past two fights, which is weird to me. It's just weird, the cliff he's fallen off of. And I understand he turned pro early, but man, he's a young fighter, and it's diminished clearly and quickly. So I'll still be a fan, but man, it looks like his ceiling is a lot lower than what we thought it was going to be going forward. And you're right. I just, something with the chin, something with the reflexes, it's just not there. And I gave him, like, after the second Lee Wood fight, there was some weird things going on with the weight out there, with how they do things with the weight. So I gave him some forgiveness there. And on top of that, Lee Wood's a good fighter. Lee Wood's the type of guy, he's an overachiever, right? And Lara went on the road. But seeing this against Lugo, I thought this was a fight that he was going to take over as the fight went on, and he just didn't. And it was odd. It was odd to see.
Yeah. Nando says he ain't 25 years old. I mean, he don't look 25, but he looks like a well taken care of 50-year-old. You know what I mean? Like solid. But I don't know, man. He doesn't look old enough to be my uncle. I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe that's what it is. Man, maybe he's actually 48, but like we don't know. But 25, man. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the weight. Maybe he should move up. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there was talks about him waiting around for Inouye, but I don't know about that one, bro.
No.
Keep it moving. Yeah, like I'm saying. But that's whatever. But hey, one last topic here. You sent me this. Mauricio Suleiman of the WBC, president of the WBC. I would like to have 5 judges for the match with my champion, Tyson Fury, and unified champion, Usyk. They're both great fighters, great champions. It's a fight that transcends times. And why not make a change now? It's a perfect time to experiment with something new during the fucking unified, undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. Let's experiment with that one. I mean, Jesus, genius decision, Mauricio. I mean, let's talk about it, Calix, but what are your initial thoughts when you saw this?
My initial thoughts was no, no, don't do this. Don't do this. And I think he said, didn't he say 5 or 6? That's what I
5
saw.
or 6 he did. Actually, you are right. He
And
did say
6 was
5 or
6 is a terrible idea because you don't want an even amount of judges. That's just awful. I don't know. Was he drunk and high when he did this interview? I don't know. But no,
I will not tolerate any bad talks about the president of the WBC. He
So-
don't do drugs.
so
Recount your statements, sir.
let's think for a minute. Like, why would somebody want 5, 6 judges? I would guess the reasoning would be, it gives us more eyeballs to maybe get it correct, right? I don't know, but I think you're bringing more people into the mix that could be corrupted. Number one, and I think instead of focusing on numbers, I think we need to keep the numbers we have and focus on how we can better the crop of judges we have, or bring new judges into the mix. We see the same judges over and over and over again, right? And the judge who had Nova winning the fight, he's notorious for bad cards. And they even brought it up during the telecast. So if it's that obvious to everybody, we need to focus on weeding those guys out, getting better judges in, new, younger, fresher eyes, and just focus on 3 judges and the competence of those judges that we have. 3, keep 3, focus on competence and weeding out corruption, which good luck with that. But 5, the last things we need to be doing are making this sport more complex than it already is. We need to be simplifying. So bringing 5 judges in, to me, it makes it a little more complex to explain to people. So no, I'm against more weight classes, which they brought out Bridgerweight, and I'm against more judges. Please, for the love of God, WBC, do not bring more judges into the fold. Please don't do it.
Well, here's the thing, Alex. So I know it's going to be confusing to people, but let me be clear. I like more judges in theory.
In theory.
Right? But I would like to see it tested at a lower level before you test it in the most important heavyweight fight that we've had in years. Like it's the worst time to do. You don't do it then. You just don't.
No. Explain
So,
why you like it in theory.
Well, if
Explain
you look
it.
at gymnastics, I looked it up before the show. Gymnastics has up to 9 judges. Diving, right, which is just these huge judges, right? There's no, you can't knock somebody out in gymnastics or in diving. You know what I mean? In diving, they have 7 judges, right? 9, 7. Boxing only has 3. I just think if you have multiple people, even if you corrupt one, that one judge is literally going to be null and void, right? It makes it less likely that that judge causes a majority decision or a split draw or something like that, or majority draw, or whatever it is. It makes it less likely. If you have 2, it still doesn't matter, right? So instead of just corrupting 2, now you have to corrupt 3 judges, right? And 2 like you know what I mean? You have to corrupt 3. That has the same effect you would have with 1. And the other way, it's harder to corrupt more people than less people.
Do you think
It's just
it makes it easier to hide, though, if there's more of them? And what I mean by that is I think Suleiman should be focusing on things that are actually easy to fix. This is actually an easy fix. They're acting like it's not. But instead of him instead of him throwing out there that we should add more judges, I think it makes it, if you bring 5 to 7 to 9 judges into the fold, I think it makes it easier for these guys to hide if they do have a bad scorecard, because there's so many scorecards being read and so many names. What I would like to do is put more of a magnifying glass on the guys who constantly do bad scorecards. And let me throw something out there. And I think this is what Suleiman should be focused on, and things that he should be throwing out there that's easy things to do. If Jim Gray, after a fight, says, wait a second, that's terrible, I'm going to request that I talk to this judge right now. Okay. I think if Jim Gray or somebody requests to talk to a judge after a fight, that judge should have to go on the microphone and explain their scorecard to the world after the fight. Yeah. Articulate it to the world why they scored that scorecard in front of everybody, in front of booing fans, right? Or at least go to the locker room after, if you don't want to have people booing at the judge after the fight. But I think we need to be putting more pressure on the judges that we have, the 3 judges, and shining a light on that instead of throwing more judges into the fold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but boxing is like, okay, a couple of things. So I get the whole like adding up the scoring. They already take forever with 3. Imagine with fucking 5, 6, or 7, right? I get it. But that's because they're fucking using a pen and paper, right? And they're adding it up like they're in 3rd grade and shit. And like, oh, well, hold on. Oh, okay. Gotta put the 1 over here and break it down. Like well, what are we doing? There's a thing called calculators, bro. There's apps now. Why is it like a dude does a dive, right? He does like 10 flips, whatever they do, and then boom, he does a dive, and then everybody claps. By the time that dude swims out of the pool, and he's like, he's not even finished. Like fucking, he ain't even finished like drying himself up yet, and they're already like, judging scores, boom, 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 904, 806, 709. Like they're like, but like. Why are we taking 10 minutes to add up? Let's see, 108 plus. I think, like, what are we doing? They put on their glasses. They're shaking their. Let me put my glasses so we can add this up. Like you know what I mean? Like, what? Why? And then you see scratches and give them a fucking device, and then you press win of the round. Done. 10-9. Was there knockdown? No. Boom. Done. Right? And it automatically puts it in the machine. That's it. Confirm it. Yes or no. Confirm. Done. Well, what are we doing? Why are we using pen and paper? Why? Like, what are we doing? Gymnastics. Boom. They got 9 judges. Boom. Immediately. Okay. The girl does 10, 20 flips in the air. Boom. Everybody clap. Yeah. Okay. If she's happy about it, she'll go. She'll hug her teammates. But she's not even finished hugging her last teammate. They're already giving the scores. 9 scores on the board, boom, added and everything. Machines do it.
Yeah, you're right about all that, but I want to point out that figure skating and gymnastics are not the best examples to throw out, because there's serious I would argue, people would probably argue there's more corruption in those sports than in boxing when it comes to scoring. So I'm just for I don't know. If somebody has a clearly terrible scorecard, and I don't think this should be abused. I think this should be used for clear cases of it. Like Abraham Nova, he gets one of the judges to score it for him. Okay, let me request to talk to this judge, and the judge has to do it. The judge has to come on TV and explain away his scorecard.
So you want to get rid of boxing's version of qualified immunity, right? Like, because that's what they give these fucking judges. Like, they have qualified immunity. They don't have to speak to anybody.
And not only that, they're called right back to do another title fight.
I do agree with that. Look, I do agree that judges should have to be able to articulate why we fucking do it. We do it for fun when we score fights. Oh, I give this round to this guy. He did this and that. Like, you tell me a fucking professional judge can't do it? A professional judge should be so good at his job, they should be able to teach me and Calix how to score a boxing fight. Yeah. Okay? That's how good they're supposed to be at the job. You tell me they can't articulate why they scored a round for somebody? Oh, no, we don't want to do that to our judge. Like, why not? I call bullshit. So I agree with that. I agree that they should be interviewed, and I also agree it's a better solution than what Mauricio's suggesting. What I'm saying is I'm not ruling out multiple judges because of my theory that it's hard to corrupt multiple judges, right? Rather than it's just harder to do it, in my opinion. But that's a theory that hasn't been practiced yet. It may end up making an issue worse. I do agree with that. But yeah, I agree. They should be interviewed. I don't think they should be above. The ref has to answer questions,
Yeah.
right? That they question the referee. The fighters, okay, are they answer questions. They've been punched in the face and in their body, and they're exhausted and shit. They got to send her like fighters get knocked
Not
out.
only
And answer
that,
questions.
they're the ones getting punched in the face, getting hit to the body, and then everybody judges with a microscopic lens everything that these guys are saying right after a fight. They just got punched in the face, and they got a microphone in their face after they got punched in the face. So if they're able to do it, then look, man, I don't want to hear that judges can't be interviewed after a fight. If you got a terrible scorecard and it's clearly questionable, you need to answer to the boxing world. You have to.
I agree 100%. Nika, how's it going? Shout out to you. And I think I saw Mario Mongia in the building as well. And Mario says, send me a text, but I got to ask you something. Send me a text. And look, I think everyone's in agreement that they have to be interviewed. And I've never heard a good argument as to why they shouldn't be interviewed. It's always about protection for the judges. Fuck the judge. What do you mean protection for the judges? There's no protection for the fighters and shit.
But you know what it does?
The fighters get ridiculed, mocked if they lose. The fighters have to deal with embarrassment if they lose. The fighters have to, if they lash out, people get on them forever. Like, you know what I mean? They make memes about them. But you're telling me a judge who had a free ringside seat can't answer a simple question? Hey, why'd you give around? Hey, judge, nobody in the planet scored round 10 for Haney against Roma. Why'd you score that round from? What did you see? I think it's the same. It's a good question to ask, quite frankly. No more qualified immunity for boxing judges. That's what I say.
What it does is the fact that Suleiman brought this up to me. When I see it, I say, all right, why is he doing that? Especially for Undisputed. It leads to more questions of corruption to me because obviously you bring more people into the fold, there's more people that we can corrupt. But also what it does is it diverts people's attention to something else, to another topic, instead of things that are easy to fix. This is an easy problem to fix. If we just if we shine a light on the judges who are having bad scorecards, and Mauricio knows who they are. He knows all of them. He knows who they are. And they keep calling these guys back. So the fact that he's doing this instead of bringing up ideas that are actually you can carry out and you can carry out right away leads people like me to question, all right, the corruption has to be all the way from the top down, and maybe it's even thicker than we thought.
100%. Man. Well, look, obviously, we've been saying this for years, and they don't take the steps. And maybe Rick Glacier should tweet it out, and maybe people will say something about it, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's such a great idea. I never heard anybody say that before. Like, what do you mean? We've been talking about this shit for years. Like, what? But here's the thing. Interview the judges, hold them accountable, because that's what that is. And people saying, I know Mario said, oh, I don't know, there's enough time on these broadcasts. Like, what? They got time for, like, we're up till 1 a.m. What do you mean we won't have time? We have a lot of time. There's one thing we have in boxing broadcasts is time. Those dudes, like they're talking about fighters' dogs and shit, doing whole specials about them. We're gonna do a 2-minute interview with a judge. But even if you say that's correct, okay, fine. Then interview them at the press conference.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? There's a lot of ways to interview them. But for whatever reason, they're protected, and the commissions believe that it's better that they don't do interviews. They're not allowed to ask. They can't even come on a platform like this and answer questions.
That makes people question the corruption thing. And we're not saying stone these guys to death. I mean, it's not like nothing like that. All we're saying is answer the questions that people want to know, because clearly you have a terrible scorecard that nobody else saw it that way. And then there has to be some sort of punishment, right? Probationary periods, stuff like that, because that's stuff that should be thrown out there into the world instead of more judges. Good Lord.
It's still going to be this like same crop of judges. Just going to add more to them in the fight.
Yeah.
So instead of like just Elliot Bird, you're going to have CJ Ross in the mix. You know what I mean? There you go. But yeah, like it's time. Like the fact that they know they're not going to have to answer to anybody, right? Once in a while they're suspended, but guess what? Like 2-3 fights later, they're back in there. Like it's nothing happens to them. And there's a good old boys club in boxing, and we
Yes.
have that problem. We just do. Like there's a whole like we look out after each other, and we know each other, and we're this and we're like that. That's going on right now. Like Marichon, like you said, he knows these guys. They also know the assignment, right? It's not explicitly said, but it's just understood, right?
That's right.
If a promoter or something, they like the way you score and they keep calling you back for these main events, and you just happen to just by golly gee, you're always scoring it for the house fighter. What a coincidence! Like that's not.
It doesn't always have to be a cash handoff. It's what's understood doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need to be talked about. They do it in politics all the time, right? Is you want to keep getting these jobs, you got to do it a certain way. It's already understood. And you got the house fighter winning. You got the house fighter winning again.
It's like Calix knows. Right. Calix knows he has to keep praising me on Twitter at least once a week. Yeah. Or he's no longer on HCP. Like he just understands that. You know what I mean? I don't gotta say it. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I need my appraisal once a week. You know what I mean?
But not a joke. It's not a joke.
But that's it. Hey, by the way, shout out to everybody. Ed Woodson, shout out to you, brother Lance Mayer in the building. That is a show, guys. Calix, any final thoughts?
Junto Nakatani is get down or lay down season. Junto Nakatani is raising hell. Will beat Santiago, and if he beats Santiago emphatically, then I got a nice little number 10 pound for pound slot with his name on it on Sunday 100%. Morning.
And before the talks of ducking and Tszyu ducking Crawford and Crawford sucking Tim, before that talk inevitably happens at some point. Look, none of these dudes are ducking each other. They're just not. Okay. I think
neither one of those fighters have duck in their mentality.
And here's the other thing. It's just a matter, and Crawford doesn't need to go to WBO and enforce a mandatory and do all that stuff like he's some unknown dude that's been waiting for his title shot for years or something. That's what it's for. Like that's not even what it is. Or if he wants to fight, he'll get the fight. Simple as that. But they have different plans. Crawford wants the Canelo fight. Tszyu wants to stay active and do his thing. He's younger than Crawford. If the fight happens, great. If it doesn't, it's just circumstantial. That's really all it is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Simple as that. But with that said, that's all we got. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here.
God bless.
Peace.